everyone, welcome back to my AIGP Study Guide series. In the last video, we traced the evolution of traditional AI with symbolic rule engines and early neural networks, and we saw how backpropagation made a turning point, allowing systems to finally learn complex patterns. This video, we're continuing that story. To understand how we got from traditional AI to modern AI, we need to take a closer look at one of the core concepts we touched on briefly last time. Automation. What does automation actually look like in modern AI systems? How much independence do they really have? And just as importantly, what role do humans still play in all of this? Let's begin by returning to IAPP's definition of AI, a definition that calls out one key capability out directly. As you may remember from the last video, we explored IAPP's definition of AI, which highlighted automated decision-making as one of the capabilities AI systems can include. According to IAPP, automated decision-making is the process of making a decision by technological means without human involvement, either in whole or in part. This includes taking input, applying some logic or model, and producing an output, all without human intervention. Some traditional AI systems like static ontologies didn't include automated decision-making. Without a reasoning engine, they simply stored predefined facts and relationships, like dog is an animal or dog has a tail, but couldn't infer new information or act on their own. They only responded when a human queried them and couldn't adapt or make decisions independently. We've already seen examples of automated decision-making in traditional AI, from knowledge-based systems that use decision trees and rule bases to make recommendations or classifications on their own, to the single-layer perceptron, which uses an activation function to decide whether an output is 1 or 0. The perceptron also illustrates early automated learning, updating its weights independently through the perceptron learning algorithm, once we had supplied it with labeled data and a predefined learning rate. So if traditional AI already included automated decision-making and automated learning, what really is the difference between machine learning's definition between traditional and modern AI? To answer that, we'll take a closer look at the concept of automation itself. Not just whether a machine can act on its own, but how independently it acts and when a human needs to be in the loop. Let's start with mapping out the levels of AI autonomy. There isn't a single universally accepted official framework for levels of AI automation accepted by any standardized body. A quick search online reveals a wide range of models, some with as few as 3 levels, others up to 10, depending on the source. The closest ISACA has come to referencing such levels appears in its 2023 publication, Reducing Human and AI Risk in Autonomous Systems. In it, the author describes the spectrum where human-to-machine decision-making shifts progressively from fully manual to computer-assisted to semi-autonomous, and finally to fully automated. However, this paper stops short of providing a standardized method for measuring or categorizing these levels. That being said, some influential organizations, such as the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, do approach AI automation as a continuum, framing it in terms of varying degrees of human involvement in system behavior. For instance, the OECD's publication Introducing the OECD AI Capability Indicators, which was just released a couple months ago, defines 9 distinct capability areas: manipulation, problem solving, metacognition and critical thinking, creativity, robotic intelligence, language, vision, social interaction, and knowledge, learning, and memory. Each of these is mapped across 5 performance levels, ascending from basic task automation to full human equivalent ability. But the OECD doesn't provide a single universal autonomy ranking. Interpreting it requires diving into each capability scale. Meanwhile, the Open Ethics Initiative, a nonprofit based in Estonia and influential thought leader, is championing transparent design with their REAL framework, which stands for Requirements for Autonomy Levels. It proposes a clear 6-level scale from level 0 to level 5 to describe how independently an AI system can operate. Though not a formal regulator, Open Ethics, in my opinion, offers the most coherent autonomy framework available. The REAL framework draws inspiration from existing global laws and governance principles that shape how AI systems should behave and how much human oversight they require. For example, REAL cites the EU GDPR, the EU AI Act, the US Bot Disclosure Act, and the OECD AI principles. The REAL framework also points out a clear standardization gap For example, the EU GDPR states in Article 22 that data subjects have a right to exclude themselves from being subject to a decision solely based on automated processing, but doesn't outline what automated processing includes. The US Bot Disclosure Act requires users employing an automated software program to provide conspicuous notice of the program, but also doesn't outline what the automated program is defined by. The EU AI Act acknowledges in Recital 12 that AI systems can operate with varying levels of autonomy, but doesn't define what those levels actually are. It also mandates in Article 14 that human oversight should align with a system's autonomy, yet it stops short of explaining how that alignment should work. Meanwhile, the automotive industry does have a widely accepted model. The SAE J3016 taxonomy, which classifies driving automation from level 0 to level 5. The REAL framework builds upon this precedent and applies it to general AI. REAL's framework emphasizes that context is critical when evaluating the autonomy of AI systems. To illustrate this, it draws from and generalizes ideas found in SAE J3016. For example, in SAE J3016, levels 1 and 2 are classified as driver support features, not fully autonomous systems. At level 1, the system assists with either steering or speed control. At level 2, it can handle both. However, in both cases, the human driver is always responsible for monitoring the environment and supervising the system's performance. This distinction underscores a key point. Just because a system performs a task automatically does not mean it's fully autonomous. Recognizing these boundaries helps prevent overgeneralizing what it means for AI to be automated, especially in critical contexts like transportation or defense. Similarly, REAL helps us distinguish between assistive and autonomous systems. Assistive systems support human decisions, offering enhancements without replacing judgment or control. Autonomous systems, on the other hand, make decisions and take actions with minimal or no human input, often using machine learning, sensors, and real-time data to adapt to their own. The REAL framework uses 6 measurements to rank AI autonomy: human in the loop, output and decision-making, exceptions fallback, monitoring, responsibility, and liability. Each one helps determine how autonomous an AI system actually is and who remains accountable for its actions. Let's begin with the first measurement, human in the loop. This refers to the degree which humans are actively involved in AI systems' decision-making process. According to Open Ethics, human in the loop is a design pattern that leverages both human and machine intelligence, bridging automation with real-world interaction. The AI is not fully independent, it's a tool meant to enhance or augment human decision-making. The IAPP defines it similarly as a paradigm where humans retain oversight, intervention, or control of the system's operation and output. The human-in-the-loop measurement is not just a checkbox. It reflects a broader truth. AI systems don't operate in a vacuum. At every stage, humans shape what AI is, what it does, and what it's allowed to do. From the start, we define the system's objectives, whether it's analyzing data, generating content, or making recommendations. We also provide and curate the training data, directly influencing the system's behavior and capabilities. But the human role extends beyond setup. We remain responsible for ensuring that the data, algorithms, and outcomes align with the technical, legal, and ethical standards. In other words, humans, consciously or not, decide what's appropriate, trustworthy, and safe. No matter how advanced AI becomes, human judgment is still the foundation for its direction, deployment, and oversight. But this influence isn't limited to design. It's embedded across the entire REAL framework. We can see it clearly in how other measurements reflect the shifting boundaries between human control and machine autonomy. The next measurement, output and decision-making, examines who actually produces or validates what the AI system generates. In some cases, humans remain directly responsible for approving outputs. In others, the system operates more independently with human involvement reserved for oversight or rare exceptions. This shift highlights an evolving relationship. The more capable the system, the more humans are positioned as reviewers rather than active participants. But autonomy doesn't mean infallibility. The exceptions fallback measure looks at what happens when the system encounters something unexpected. Sometimes humans must immediately step up to resolve the issue. Other times, the system has built-in contingency plans, rules, redundancies, or guardrails designed to handle failure scenarios on its own. Still, whether the fallback is human-led or machine-driven, someone had to plan for the edge cases, and that someone is always human. Monitoring asks, who keeps watch? In most scenarios, a human is expected to stay engaged, ready to intervene, redirect, or assess the environment. Yet as autonomy increases, the expectation of constant human vigilance starts to fade. At the highest end of the scale, systems are designed to operate with little to no real-time oversight, relying on predefined rules and broader context awareness. Even then, someone must decide how and when monitoring is required. Once again, that's a human judgment call. Responsibility looks at who's accountable for how the system behaves. In early stage system, the human operator is clearly in charge. But as AI becomes more complex, responsibility becomes shared. Developers who coded the system and deployers who choose to use it are brought into the frame. This redistribution reflects a deeper truth. Once machines begin acting independently, accountability must extend beyond the end user to those who shape the system's logic and boundaries. Finally, we come to liability, a legal and operational question. Regardless of how intelligent or automated a system is, someone is responsible for its consequences. Interestingly, even in fully manual system where no AI is involved, the deployer bears liability. That sets a precedent. The act of putting a system into the world carries accountability, whether that system thinks on its own or not. So who exactly are the human actors involved? We can better understand their roles and responsibilities by defining three key stakeholders: operators, developers, and deployers. Operators are end users who interact with the system during its daily operation. They monitor the outputs, approve or reject results, and intervene when necessary. Their role is central to oversight and feedback. Key responsibilities include supervising the AI system during use, ensuring it operates within defined boundaries, monitoring outputs for accuracy and anomalies, and providing corrective input when needed. Developers are the architects of the AI system. They design, code, and build the models and logic that guide how the system behaves. For example, a software company that develops an AI model. Key responsibilities include defining the system's purpose and intended use, identifying limitations and potential risks, designing safeguards to mitigate high-risk outcomes, documenting the data used for training, and summarizing how the system was tested and validated. According to the EU AI Act, deployers, also referred to as providers, are defined as any entity that develops or makes an AI system available under their name or trademark, whether for commercial or free use. Deployers may or may not be the same as developers. Deployers are the entities, individuals, companies, or agencies that implement the AI system in a real-world context. They decide how and where the system is used and carry ultimate responsibility for its impact. Key responsibilities include determining the AI system's use case and operational context, ensuring transparency, for example, notifying affected individuals, evaluating the system prior to deployment, mitigating known risks, and monitoring the system post-deployment and maintaining safeguards. Sometimes a company can be both a developer and a deployer. For instance, a cybersecurity firm that builds its own AI threat detection system wears both hats. Now that we know the key players, operators, developers, and deployers, let's turn to the playbook, the real framework, which outlines how much autonomy an AI system can actually have. The real framework breaks down AI autonomy into 6 distinct levels from level 0 to level 5 based on how much control and oversight the human operator maintains. Level 0 is no autonomy. Here, the human performs every task, makes every decision, and takes full responsibility. Monitoring and output fall entirely on the human operator. Systems only act as tools, like teleoperated robots with no decision-making. In order to fully understand the language of the real framework, let's take a quick detour to talk about something called RFC. The real framework specifically references RFCs as a model for how to clearly define and communicate levels of AI autonomy. RFC stands for Request for Comments. These are formal documents created by the Internet Engineering Task Force that define technical standards for things like internet protocols and system behaviors. When reading RFCs, these keywords define how strict a requirement is. Must means mandatory, no exceptions. Must not means it's absolutely prohibited. Should is a strong recommendation, but you can deviate if you understand the risks. Should not means it's usually a bad idea, but there may be rare exceptions. And may means it's optional. You can include it or not, but your system should still work with others that made a different choice. Now that we understand the language that this framework was built on, let's move on to level 1. Level 1 is assisted operation. AI systems may offer suggestions, but humans still produce the final output and confirm all decisions. Machines may assist, but they must not confirm anything independently. Similar to lane assist in cars, AI can't independently perform maneuvers like braking, steering, or navigating. The machine helps, but the human drives. No decisions are automated. Human verification is always required. Level 2 is partial autonomy. AI handles routine steps, but humans supervise and must confirm the result. Automation is present, but oversight is mandatory. Responsibility remains largely with the operator. AI manages parts of a process within set limits, such as smart insulin pumps. The AI calculates and administers doses automatically within predefined parameters, like adjusting the rate if a patient's glucose levels change without human intervention, but only up to a point. Nurses or physicians are required to review and confirm setup, monitor outputs, and intervene in edge cases or alerts. Oversight is continuous. They cannot walk away or fully offload responsibility. Level 3 is conditional autonomy. AI operates independently under specific conditions, but humans must step in if needed. Responsibility begins to shift between operator and developer. The autonomous system can independently manage most tasks under well-defined conditions. Human operators can disengage and let the system handle the workflow. Advanced driver assistance systems like Tesla's full self-driving beta can autonomously steer, accelerate, brake, change lanes, and navigate highway exits under specific conditions, such as highways with clear lane markings and predictable traffic flow. The driver is allowed to disengage, but must remain ready to take over. Level 4 is high autonomy. AI controls everything in a defined environment, and human intervention is typically only required for scenarios that fall outside the predefined conditions or operational environment. Here, monitoring is still required, but human confirmation is no longer assumed. Responsibility shifts towards the developer and deployer. Fully autonomous systems like Waymo robotaxis operate end-to-end in mapped areas with no human driver in the vehicle at all. And finally, level 5 is full autonomy. The system acts completely independently. Humans may not confirm or even monitor its outputs. Oversight is minimal and full responsibility relies with the deployer. AI makes all decisions independently, like autonomous drone swarms in disaster zones. For example, DARPA's Offset program is developing autonomous drone swarms, up to 250 aerial and ground robots. These drones handle everything: task coordination, environmental adaptation, mission execution, with no human in the loop. Across all levels, one theme is clear. As autonomy increases, human control decreases. But the need for clear oversight, accountability, and transparency grows ever more critical. Without clear levels, it's hard to align responsibility with capability, especially when decisions impact real people. That's why frameworks like REAL are so valuable. They help bridge the gap between technical capabilities and ethical governance. So far, we've seen automation in AI isn't all or nothing. It exists on a spectrum. And while early systems could automate some actions, modern systems operate with far more flexibility and far less hand-holding. But automation is only part of the picture. We've been exploring automated decision-making, how AI systems operate and act independently. But this raises a deeper question. How do systems get better at making those decisions? That brings us to our next major topic: autonomous learning. Modern machine learning isn't about acting independently, it's about learning independently. Ever since the introduction of backpropagation, machine learning has come to mean the ability to learn independently complex representations of data. So what do we really mean when we say that modern AI has advanced autonomy? It's not just about making decisions without human input. It's also about learning without constant human supervision. That brings us to the real question we'll explore in the next video. How does a system become more autonomous in the way that it learns? To answer that, we'll break down what makes modern machine learning so powerful, including how it learns without labeled data, discovers features on its own, and even transfers knowledge across tasks. Thanks again so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to them. See you in the next one. Bye.